Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast is Darkest Timeline. Trying something new today, people. See if you can see what's new with the format. It's the same, but different. This week we're talking about living life, enjoying life, new ways of living life and enjoying life. Some football talk, which for me seems strange, but you'll see what I mean in a little bit. Couple of bits of TV, no movie as such, and then new and updated computer games, not necessarily for the better. Yeah. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share the podcast around, people. Share the podcast around. That's the one. That is the one. Word of mouth is a wonderful thing. Share that podcast. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, Darkest Timeline. Hello. How are we all doing? Are we good? Are we well? Yes? Yes? Yes. Good. Hope you're doing well. If you're not, reach out. Reach out to us here at the podcast. Anybody here at the podcast will take the time to talk to you. If you are not having the best of times, just drop us some form of communication, social media, email, smoke signal, and just say, hi. We will get back to you and we will talk to you. And if you don't want to reach out to people on the internet, you can always contact any of the major services available. And don't forget friends and family. So, plenty of options there for you to reach out to. How you doing? How's your week been? How's your day going? Let's keep it local. I am exhausted. I'm trying so many different things at the moment to try not to be exhausted at all times, but I reach a point where I'm like, oh, I'm done for the day, and it'll be like, I don't know, sometimes it's 10 o'clock in the morning, sometimes it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So yeah, but that's not why we're here. We're here for a completely different reason. I'm going to take you a little bit behind the scenes today because I've got some bits and bobs to talk about. If you've listened to last week's episode, there was a conversation about trying to do the podcast a little bit different. And there's a variety of different things going on in the background of this podcast and other podcasts. There are things that are going on for me personally, trying to take a few changes. Not all, but some are actually going to be featured in this podcast. I think you'll sort of see that I personally feel like I'm moving into a different phase of my life. And initially I thought it was a bad thing. Starting to think differently, but we'll get on to that. So I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I have written down here on my list for this week. The title of the first topic of the week is moving into a new phase with children. Enjoying time. Let them have more fun. So there we go. That seems like a good subject matter to discuss. Good thing to talk about. A good positive kind of thing. Talking about the way things are at the moment. Talking about the way things are going to be. Talking about a multitude of things. There's a small problem. I have absolutely no idea what the key point was that made me write that down. Now, the stuff that came after the title, moving into a new phase of children, the stuff that came after, I know I've added that to try and make a square peg fit a round hole. And that's not what we're doing anymore. This is one of the changes. We're not podcasting for podcasting's sake. So, what I'm sort of alluding to, I'm not alluding at all, I'm coming straight out and saying it. Let's go back to what I was saying. I feel like I have maybe started a new chapter of my life. I've had some key moments recently where I've realised that not rushing around, not going from pillar to post, not being always on that kind of, oh, we've got to go and do this, we've got to go and do that. I think there was a point where I'd mentioned like sitting and having an ice cream with my daughter where I was like, hurry up and eat that ice cream, we've got to go. And that kind of take of why, where, what for, and being like, I don't know the answer to that question. Makes you wonder. So had a weekend with all the children. And I looked at a couple of points in time. One of the points in time, there was going to be some downtime, some quiet time, whatever you call it in your house. And then some of the other time, very busy, very stressful, very running around all over the place. 4 children needed to be in 4 completely different places at 4 completely different times. You know, there's just me and Leanne to sort of do that and sort that out and make that happen. But that's not enough. So, you know, you gotta. What's that saying about it takes a village? So you call in the cavalry and, oh, can I leave the child with you? Those kinds of things. Outside of all of that, I was also very sort of committed to, well, we also need to go out, we also need to have some fun. So, the one child that I took for an ice cream wasn't available, but the other 3 were. So we went for an ice cream. I took them all when we got ice creams, sat down, and just chilled out. I was telling stories of being in different countries for different reasons, and things like that. My son got covered practically head to foot in ice cream. And yeah, you know, we got bikes out, we went on bikes, we did all this sort of stuff. And it was a jolly nice time. And that was that. As for the rest, there was something is tickling my brain about a situation where I had a realization about something like my children wanting to do stuff, and my children being at different ages now, and my children moving into different phases, and me moving into different phases, and me and all this, and there's some vague memory of what that subject was, and I'm sure further down the line it'll come back to me. But the way that we're doing the royal we, the way we're doing the podcast now is, I don't know what that is. So I'm not going to talk about it, and I'm going to move on. Time is valuable. Let's not waste it. I've written stuff down about like this sort of like moving to a different phase, moving to a phase of trying. This is going to sound either weird or a bit dumb or a combination of a few different things, but trying to actually enjoy life. Rough concept, I know, because an example would be there was a point in time where my eldest was watching a movie. My younger two daughters were watching a movie, and my son was watching some of the various different TV shows that he likes to watch at this point in time. And I go from room to room to room, and I stand and watch a bit of the movie with my daughter. Then I go and check that the other guys are enjoying the film they're watching. And then I go and see what my son's up to, see what he's doing. And then I go back and watch a bit of the movie with my daughter. And there was a point where I was like, I should just sit down. This isn't achieving anything. Nobody needs me at this point in time. I should just sit down. And the reason I didn't sit down was I couldn't decide where to sit. I was like, if I sit with my eldest, then the other guys are going to be like, oh, he's always sitting with her. He's always watching stuff with her. They're always playing games together. I was like, if I sit with the two guys, the two middle guys, then my eldest is going to be like, oh, why is he sitting with them? And he usually comes and sits with me. I thought we were going to watch this film together. If I go and sit with my son, then all the girls are going to be like, oh, I'm sitting with the youngest. And that's just me. I could have just sat down on my own, and nobody wins. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it, and it's probably a bit too much. Last Wednesday, I'm having these conversations recently about how I maybe do too much. There's a possibility that the reason that I'm so tired all the time, and some of my food-related issues and etc., is because I'm actually doing too much. I still have fat man mentality, and that fat man mentality is you need to burn as many calories as possible. But that was for a much bigger body. The body now is smaller than it was, and maybe it doesn't need as much. Maybe it doesn't need all of that stuff. So I've been talking, going, me and Leanne keep going backwards and forwards. She's like, you need to cut this out, cut that out, cut the other out, and I'm like, yes, but then what? And it always comes back to, we could just, spend time with the children, or do one of the many things that you always talk about not having the chance to do. Last Wednesday, obviously up at 6, out the door to climbing, back from climbing, out with the dog, back from the dog. The way it sort of worked now, I don't have to take my youngest daughter to school because I've got my son for the day. So Leanne will take her and just drop her on her way to work. But me and my son had gone out to do a job, and that job initially looked like it was going to be driving, but then ended up being a situation where there was some walking involved. Did some walking, got a few steps. It's important to the story. So, steps achieved. Home earlier than usual. So I look at the time. I'm like, And I said to my son, I was like, here, mate, if I was to get on and do my workout now, then we're an hour further ahead than normal Wednesday. If I got on and did my workout now, wouldn't need to do it later. We could do different things. Brings everything forward by an hour. I was like, what do you think? He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll play with this, or I'll do that, or I'll play a game, or I'll watch something. And I'm like, okay, I'll run and get changed. Job done. There was another side to this. I was looking at the number of steps I'd done by that point in time, and it was higher than a normal Wednesday. I knew that come the afternoon, I had to go and get my daughter from school, start school and back, and I knew I had to walk the dog again. So, dog walk. Looking at those steps at that point in time, rough estimate of about 6,000 steps, I'm like, I don't need, technically, to get on the treadmill. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. Because one of the conversations, one of the subjects that's come up, one of the things that's been talking about recently is where to cut out certain aspects of exercise. And one of the things that's been mentioned is, do you necessarily need to get on the treadmill as much as you do? So I'm like, going to keep that in my mind, see where we go from here. Go off, get changed, get sorted, get my son settled, doing an activity, and then I go to start working out. Now then, I will say this, didn't quite go according to plan. The workout took a little bit longer than intended and dragged into lunchtime. I'm like, right, I've got like three things left to do. But you need some lunch. So let's get you some lunch sorted. Take a little bit of break from this workout. I'll get you some lunch sorted. I'll go back and work out while you're eating. Job done. So, ran a little bit longer than an hour in that sense, because obviously I'm taking a break out of the workout to go and make the lunch. Come back, get him sorted, get him settled. I have to keep breaking to get him more things for his lunch. Workout's taking even longer at this point in time. Probably ends up running an hour and a half. Okay. But if you remember the earlier part of the story was I was an hour further ahead. So, looks at the time. I was like, right, I'm going to have a drink because I'm gasping at this point in time. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put something on for you to watch so that I know that you're occupied. And then I'm going to go and shower. Get nice and showered, nice and clean, ready to go out of the house to collect my youngest daughter from school. So, this point in time, no treadmill. Now, I'm going to be real clear on this. I was freaking out. Initially, I was having not the best of times mentally. Not the best. I had that sort of, I felt like I was letting myself down. I felt like I was letting other people down. I felt like I was letting society down, however you want to look at it. I felt like I was a fraud and a failure. You know, all of that when you don't do something you're supposed to. But I just kept looking at the numbers, and the numbers said you don't need to. Tuesday's legs. 18 to 20,000 steps with a leg workout in the mix, a long run, a dog walk, a blah, 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 blah. Tuesday's legs day. Wednesday to come in at 13, 14, 15,000 steps without getting on the treadmill. Let's face it, even I can accept that that's fine. You're not phoning it in like I kept thinking. I'm phoning it in. So, I go off, I get a shower, I come back. I'm like, right. The weird thing at this point in time is me saving an hour means that in like 15 minutes time, we have to leave to go and get my daughter from school. And I'm like, how is this the case? I didn't get on the treadmill. So how is this the case? So, I grab my coffee. I go and find my son. I sit down. And I'm trying to compose myself because I don't want to get emotional. I sit down. And my son turns and looks at me. And I turn and look at him. And he sort of shimmies up to me on the sofa, wraps his arms round my arm, rests his head on my shoulder and just goes back to watching what he was watching. And I was sat like, yeah, that right there, that's what it was. That's what it is. That was the point. Not necessarily the point of, oh, I don't need to get on the treadmill. Oh, I don't need to do all the steps. Oh, I just need to relax, calm it down. I'm not letting anybody down other than, myself. It wasn't any of that. It was taking those 15 minutes to sit and drink a coffee, watch some cartoons with my son, who clearly appreciated it. I'm not going to lie, recently he's been like, Daddy, will you come and play with me? And I'm like, okay, buddy, what are we playing? He's like, you need to get down on the floor. I'm like, the fuck I do. It's a long way down there for me, mate. As it was, obviously closed all the rings, didn't need to worry about not getting on the treadmill, but gained something bigger, something more. Changes your perspective on stuff, something like that. You go, I didn't lose anything, but I did gain something. Where can I implement this into other areas of my life? So, my youngest daughter was signed up to do some football. There are these free football sessions running at the moment where my son does football. The same people. I think it's like give people who don't already do it a taster. It's free. Free's cool. We like free. So the way it's worked is each of my daughters, the younger two, not available at the same time to go and do it at the same time. They are available at the time the other one isn't. So my youngest daughter went last week. This week, youngest daughter isn't available. Middle daughter is available. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. I think it's something that she'll really enjoy. I think she'll like it. It's something, give her an opportunity to try something she's not done before. Okay. Kept it not like surprise, secret kind of thing. Just didn't tell her until the weekend and was like, would you like to go for a free taster of football? It's an hour. You'll do this, and this. What do you think? She was like, absolutely. Like, cool. That's what I thought you'd say. As it was, youngest daughter and my son had to be elsewhere. And I arranged for my eldest daughter to go and be able to climb. Me and my middle daughter spending quality father-daughter time together, which resulted in a lot of silence to start with. Good, I'm being real here. There was a lot of silence to start with. We were a bit like, so, you looking forward to your football? Yeah, that's good. Got everything you need? Yeah. Good. You need to remember to take your lunch? Yeah. So, after the initial, off we toddled to football. And then we got talking about like football related things, and I was telling stories of football related stories from my youth. And we got over there, and I was like, let's have a bit of a kick around, because that's what you do before football starts. And then I was like, right, you go and get stuck in, listen to the coaches, listen to the instructions, do what you're told, you'll be fine. So away she went, and it was a lot of doing the warm-up, pretty much exactly the same as what my son does when he does his warm-up. Away she goes, off she pops. Then it was like, right, we're going to do some running races. Like, yep, this is getting you used to running up and back. Then we're going to do it with a ball, and then we're going to do it with a cone, and then we're going to do it. You got to avoid all these cones, and you got to score some goals. Before all of this, I was like, when we were doing the bit before all of the activities, I was like, here, see if you can score a goal in that goal. She absolutely kicked the leather off the ball. Nearly killed a guy who stood in the way of the goal. I looked at him. He looked at me. He looked at her. I could see in his face. He was like, "Did that kick come out of that child? Because if it did, good work." I'm like, mm-hmm. So, a little something about my middle daughter. My middle daughter has an ability, a superpower. And that superpower is she can turn her hand to any sporting activity. Any sporting activity. Anything. Like, we're not talking just like, running backwards and forwards or anything. We're talking any sporting activity, she can do it. Golf. Check. All aspects of golf she can do. Just with very little coaching. At one point she was like, I'm going to go on the monkey bars. I'm like, okay. She's like, I'm going to go there and back and there again. I was like, aha. And then she did it without batting an eyelid. She can apparently kick a ball like she's playing for freaking Brazil. She just has that ability that she can turn her hand to any sporting activity. So, go back with kicking the ball around. She is absolutely leathering footballs into the back of the net. I'm like, this kid should probably be doing a little bit more of this because clearly has the talent. So, like I say, they do a warm-up, they do these activities. Then, time for a match. And there was 3 teams. There was enough kids to have 3 teams, so they would do 2 teams on, 1 team off. And after they played a couple, then they were like, right, if you're coming off, go and get a drink. So I've got a drink. She comes over. I was like, here, listen to me. I was like, look, you see where these guys are going wrong? They're all bunched up together, and they're not allowing the ball to sort of move around, get passed around, and they're getting sort of snarled up. The other team, a lot of space, creates a lot of opportunities, get a lot more goals that way. I was like, when you go out there next, because you're going to go out in a minute, when you go out there next, if you can see anybody that's the same colour bib as you, near you, move. Look for the space, move into it, and away you go. She was like, okay. Some of my children have, I was going to say hearing issues, which is unfair because that is actually true. What I mean is, like a lot of children, some of my children have selective hearing. And you have to know which type of selective hearing which child has. Go and put your shoes on. Some of them, you're going to have to say it 3 times. It's time to turn this off. Yeah, etc. So there's me. I'm like, look, I don't expect, I don't expect that you're going to take on board what I've said. I'm just highlighting that, you could be doing this. Off she pops, and obviously she's making space, creating opportunities. She's out there absolutely crushing it. When she's not playing, we're like waving to each other, or she's coming and getting a drink and stuff. We leave. I'm like, did you enjoy that? She was like, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was like, I'm really pleased for her. I'm happy. And we had that whole she was like, can I sit in the front in the car? I'm like, we are going round the corner. Of course you can sit in the front. So we sorted it so she could sit in the front of the car to go round the corner, sort of thing. And we got talking and stuff. Went to collect a collection of children, and I was like, I said to Lana, I was like, oh, the middle daughter seemed to really enjoy the football. If I'm honest, I think she enjoyed the warm-up and those activities rather than actually playing football. I don't think the match was really for her. Leanne was like, it's exactly the same for the youngest daughter. She didn't really enjoy the match. She enjoyed the other stuff. I'm like, there we go. Later in the process, I'm like, hey, let me ask you this. Which was the bit you enjoyed the most about your football? She was like, the match. I was like, really? She was like, yeah, I like the sort of playing together as a team and like putting into practice. I was like, oh, I thought you'd have enjoyed the warm-up. But it's good you enjoyed the match. I did enjoy the warm-up, but the match was like the best bit. I was like, cool. Would you do it again? Yeah, I would do it again. So I've already looked to sign her up for another another one of those. Like I say, out for a nice ice cream in the afternoon. Lovely times. So, because of the missing piece of information from the first part of the podcast and doing things the new way of doing things, that's it. That's it for the week. I have a handful of other things to discuss, and then we're going to hit the showers early. And we all know what that means. Strap in for another hour of this. TV-wise, so I keep doing this thing where I keep going, no movies. I have watched a movie this week, mostly, with my eldest. She watched Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which is a classic favourite of mine. But do we need to talk about a movie that's probably 40 years old at this point in time? So let's talk the TV that I've watched. I watched episode 5. I did start episode 6, but I watched episode 5 of Mole. It's fine. I think when I was saying, like, you know, I don't really know the exact context of this series. I can sort of piece it together from what I know, but I do feel like I'm missing something, missing information, etc. It does just seem to focus on Mole and his sort of revenge, I guess, versus the fact that he seems to also be trying to not necessarily corrupt a Jedi apprentice type thing, more just like highlight that. I think it's kind of like he was a Sith for the Empire, but he's now an enemy of the Empire. So does that still make him a Sith? I think his take on it is he's something else. And this sort of female character is a Jedi, but, you know, does she necessarily need to be to still be whatever? Like I say, episode 5 and moved into episode 6. However, the newest and last episode of Invincible was released, series 4, episode 8. I was very much looking forward to seeing what was going to come of the last episode, the finale. The last episode of Invincible, series 4, addressed some really interesting topics. Not the sort of topics you would expect that a series where people fly and, you know, destroy entire planets, etc., spoilers by the way, would really be tackling. So the main character, Mark / Invincible, is basically dealing with PTSD of a weird variety. Like, he feels responsible for causing a thing. So has these sort of flashes of, here's a bad thing that's happening that isn't really happening. And you're like, that's really interesting, because you never think, like, Superman's out there like, oh, you know, I did a thing and an evil villain's going to take revenge by killing loads of innocent people. So that's a really interesting take. You've got another character, the character of Eve, who has had her own trauma to deal with, and that has resulted in a physical change, and that physical change has then been addressed, basically saying, like, through dealing with a trauma, that's led to a situation where she's been too busy to take care of herself. And I was like, that's a really interesting thing to sort of deal with. Dealing with, like, there's like a human aspect where it's like, oh, all of these people are borderline gods, but even though you're just a human, you still play a role in this. There is this element of I'm trying not to give too much away because you might not have watched this bit yet. There's this element of, there is this character who has come into it, especially, well, in Series 4, this character has come into it where this character is so incredibly overpowered that you're just like, don't really know how they would go about dealing with this character, because this character is beyond overpowered, yet like there is sort of like a compromise that they sort of reach, and that's that. But you do have that sort of, well, how are they going to deal with this character when this character is so incredibly overpowered? I do think, 4 series in, everything's going well. I very much enjoy this. I do say, and whenever given the opportunity, I will tell people, I think hands down it's probably one of the best things that's been on TV. I love the fact that it's come, from a comic book, and it's an animated series. I don't personally see what all the complaints are about. I know that a lot of people are talking about how the animation's very poor in comparison to earlier series, or how it could be. And I'm like, I'm just enjoying it. I would think after 4 series, the possibility of it being not very good by this point is super high. So for it to be at a high level, I'm a bit like, I'm just happy to enjoy it. Yeah, I guess. Maybe it's the old man in me. Maybe, like I say, maybe moving into this new phase of my life where I'm just happy to enjoy things. Maybe it's that. Very much looking forward to another series. There's been a lot come out recently. They're saying they're hoping to do a series a year. They're also talking about the fact that they've got 8 or 9 series in them. I keep getting stuff. I presume my algorithm has picked up that I enjoy Invincible, so I get a lot of stuff like, here's what happened in the comics, or here's this character as they were in the comics, or here's what's going to happen next. Spoilers kind of thing. And you're like, I don't know if I needed to know that. There are a couple of other subjects, sort of lesser subjects, that kind of, that would be difficult to deal with kind of thing. But then you have to remind yourself it is a superhero show. Although I do feel the line gets sort of blurred in this. It's not quite the Justice Lords, but So, like I say, no specific movie as such. Nothing to really write home about from a movie perspective. TV-wise, me and Leanne have been watching Home with the Furies Series 2. We both very much enjoyed Series 1. Series 2 is very much lacking. So much so that I haven't even bothered talking about it. I haven't even bothered writing it down. I'm like, this is just super lacking as far as a TV series is concerned. So let's move on. Let's talk about some sort of computer games, shall we? Crimson Desert had a massive update. Now, what I want to say to you, the lovely people, is it's made everything loads better. Pardon me. But what I would say to you is where people are like absolutely gushing over this update and how the controls are better and the changes you make are better and the fact that you can change the difficulty now, I immediately put that game on easy because fuck me, I didn't think I was going to get any further. The controls are so much worse now. I never complained about the controls on that game because I knew there were far too many controls to fit in. I thought they'd done as good a job as you could imagine. I'm never a fan of like bumpers and triggers for attack on hack and slash games, but this I kind of got on board with and I was fine with it. The controls are now fucking garbage. And it makes me hate the game. There are these aspects and things that are like you can have a pet. I've got a dog. The dog collects stuff for me. I love it. It saves me having to ever pick anything up. Brilliant. Wonderful. Fantastic. Now the dog's in the way all the time. All the fucking time. So much so that when I was trying to climb a mountain the other day, I had to get the dog to go away. I was like, you need to go away from me. You are in the fucking way. Speaking of climbing a mountain, I've never wanted to smash my own face in with a hammer more than trying to climb a mountain with these new bullshit fucking controls. Oh my word. So, I've had like a fairly major falling out with the game as a whole. Really not. It's gone from being an enjoyable good time to a good fun time to a I'm not enjoying playing this game anymore. And it's not because I'm stuck on a boss, and it's not because, I'm like, oh, this bit's hard. It's because of how the game plays. Now, I will say this. I've beaten a couple of bosses recently, which I've really appreciated the lower difficulty because I look at these bosses and go, I'd have never been able to do that. Never in a million years would I have been able to do these bosses that I've dealt with recently on anything that resembled like normal. I'd have been throwing the controller out the window and just basically like been done with the game. So I appreciate that. What I don't appreciate is I'm just not having fun anymore. It's not fun. It's not a fun experience. The issue I've got is it's not fun. I was having fun. I had another one of those days of playing where you play the entire time and at no point in time did I ever get my sword out. Because the entire time I was playing, I was trying to climb a fucking floating mountain and hating every single minute of my existence. So, yeah. Then I'm playing it last night and I'm still struggling with like getting up this fucking mountain and doing these time trials. Because that's what this fucking game needed. Time trials. Oh, I want to scratch my own eyes out. Anyway. I did this thing, I went up into the abyss, I did another thing, I'm like, I'm crushing it here, and, I had to look a couple of things up, and it was like, just do this. I was like, yeah, I never would have worked that, never, ever, ever, ever would I have worked that out. So I'm glad I looked it up, etc., carry on, do it. And then, I'm watching a video, and the video goes, this is one of the single worst puzzles in this entire game, and I go, oh, right. It's like, you need to press this combination of these buttons. The only problem is when you press the button, it throws you off. Well, that sounds truly awful. Speaking of throwing you off, there was a point where I had to try and jump on the back of a dragon. The game told me it was easy. You just use your grapply claw thing. The game's a fucking liar. It took me 30 attempts to get on the back of this dragon, and in the end I just dropped onto the back of the dragon. Cool, I'm on the back of the dragon. It's like, hold on. I was like, okay. And then there was a point in time where I fell off and couldn't reset the weight for the dragon. Had to do the entire thing again because that's right, I fell off a dragon and died. Okay, took me 30 times to get on the dragon last time. Let's do it another 30 times, shall we? Managed to do the objective, punch the dragon in the back to get rid of a load of sticks that are sticking out of it. Yay me. Dragon's like, cheers, brah. And then flies away into the distance, and I went, was I don't get a dragon. Cool. That's great. Thanks for that. Not enjoying it. I reached a point where I did these, like I say, these trials. The only saving grace for these trials was you got a upgrade point. Cool. To level up any weapons at this point in time, any of the weapons I've got that I actually use, they require upgrade points. So I've had to spend a couple of upgrade points upgrading the weapons. I'm not having a very good time with it. I had to save it and turn it off before doing this puzzle. So I know that I've got that Billy bullshit to go back to, and I don't know if I want to. So there's that. But that brings me to one of the other games I've been playing. I've been playing Pragmata, and in stark contrast to Crimson Desert, absolutely loving it. I absolutely love this game. This game is really, really good. It comes as no surprise, it's been reviewed insanely well. It's sold an insane number of copies. Capcom absolutely knocking it out of the park these days. And just the hits just keep on coming. It's got a little harder, I'm not going to lie. It's got a little difficult. I've died a couple of times. I've had a couple of boss things doing, some mini bosses, and you die. It takes a really long time to load, and you're like, ugh. But with every death comes the opportunity to level up. So you spend your upgrade points and find a way to go about doing it. Now we keep unlocking weapons here and there and everywhere. Keep unlocking upgrades here, there, and everywhere. The bond between the guy and the girls, super cool. It's just an absolute pearl of a game. Typically, I've not really played it all that much because of all the shit I've been dealing with on Crimson Desert. But I fully intend to go back to it, and that is not a reflection of Crimson Desert at all. I assure you, it absolutely is. Speaking of games, 4 days ago, Into the Radius 2, which has been in early access for 18 months to 2 years, has finally left early access, and we have version 1. Some of the interesting things that have come off the back of having version 1, it looks gorgeous when my computer and headset decide to play ball and make it look the way it should do. It looks absolutely phenomenal. It's beautiful. So super happy about that because I was very worried. I've had times of playing it where it looks like absolute ass. And then other times where you're playing a beta going, why does the beta look so good? I'm glad that the game's gone that way. They've made a load of changes in the update that they put out. Changed some voices, changed some context, changed some missions. One of the things that they've done, which I thought was very interesting and super creepy, is that they have added new voice lines to the enemies, and fuck me, they are creepy. I've had 2 so far that have proper creeped me out. I am going to hold my hands up on this one. Within the first day, the mods started rolling out, and I grabbed them because I didn't think that they were going to affect the game too much. Within a couple of days, the majority of the mods that I've used for this game rolled out, and I hold my hands up. I did pick them up and put them on. The only ones I have not used is the max level mod and the 5 million credits mod. I'm going to save that for a second playthrough because, let's face it, I've played this game for over 200 hours at this point. Probably playing it again when I finish it. So I'm looking forward to going through the full story because the full story is supposedly there now. I will say this, I am taking my time with it. I'm taking it in, I'm absorbing it. There are things that I maybe don't like about it. I don't like what's referred to as the in-between. Those bits I'm not a fan of. But I can see why they've done it. You don't have to like it. It's a little bit tense and a little stressful. Some of the issues I've had recently are things like not having enough money to get the weapons I want. There has been a patch, but I have found that there is a glitch in the game where you can't use some of the ammo box holders in certain positions. So I'm hoping that'll get patched at some point. And I think I've got the majority of the mods that I would want. There is one that I've not got that I think I'll probably need soon, which is the flashlight mod to make the flashlight brighter. Super, as far as money's worth, like I say, played a game for over 200 hours. Now I'm getting to play the actual version of the game that was intended. So we'll see what comes of it. I do wonder how the story will go. I have a prediction for the story, but I wouldn't want to spoil it for myself or anyone else. So I'm keeping it to myself at the moment. Mostly just so I can say, yep, knew that was going to happen. But we shall see. There's the podcast, ladies and gents. A little bit new format podcast. How did you find it? Most of you are saying didn't notice a difference. Trust me, it was different. You'll look back at this time and go, yeah, it used to be better. Well, let's find out together. Right, that's it for this one. I'll catch you next time. So there you go, what do you think's that? Another one done, another one gone. What do you think to the new format? Any good? You enjoying it? You're not enjoying it? What do we think? Should we carry on down this path together? We'll see, won't we? Anyway, that's it for this one. Till next time. What do we got to go through? Let's have a think. Like, share, subscribe, and comment before you leave. That's a big one. What else? Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button. That way you can get in touch with us. Say hi. Change the podcast back, please. Or, something along those lines. Anyway, that is it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye. And I'll see you then.
How awesome is that? So awesome. You gotta like, share and subscribe.